All right. I think we're back. Cool. Let's keep talking about this, shall we? I lost power for a second there, and I'm really sorry about that. The lights did just flicker again, so fingers crossed that this stream actually works, but I'm determined to make my first live stream on YouTube a success, gosh darn it. Luis Alvarado, how's it going, man? It's kind of a roller coaster, not gonna lie, this morning with the power going off, but there's still a lot of exciting news to talk about with this Old Republic movie potentially being in development at Lucasfilm. Hello there, welcome back. Thank you for struggling through this with me. It seems like it's been a tactic at Lucasfilm to just kind of have like these movies in development, just quietly in the background, in case one of their main like front and center moneymaker movies has a delay or a production problem. They can then quickly replace it with one of these other things they just sort of had in the pipe. And it sounds like the Old Republic script was one of those things, as reported by BuzzFeed in 2019. It sounds like that is exactly what happened here with Patty Jenkins' Rogue Squadron movie getting delayed. I'm thinking because they cited problems in the script, but I think that what that really means is we don't know what the hell to do anymore because Rangers of the New Republic has been axed. And I think that those movies the movie and show were really gonna kind of like lean on each other, context-wise. And I think that Cara Dune was supposed to be a big part of that. So the fact that she's gone, like, they kind of had to go back to square one with Rogue Squadron. So I think it's probably for the best that they're pushing it back a year, because if it means that we get a higher quality product in the end, then like that's worth it to me. Plus, considering we're having such a long like dry spell of no releases currently, it's going to make it much more satisfying when we get this huge rush of content drop. We're going to get the Taika Waititi movie, we're going to get the Rogue Squadron movie, Kevin Feige's movie, and potentially an Old Republic movie like 2023 onwards. That sounds pretty great to me. I don't know about you guys. Do I think it's Knights of the Old Republic movie or something else inside the Old Republic? I think it's going to take place after everything that we've seen. It's going to take place after the Old Republic story, probably by about the same increment of time as there was between KOTOR and the Old Republic, which is about 400 years, I think. Because it's 300. I think it's 300 years after KOTOR 2 is how it goes. Because Revan gets referenced. I think I'm just trying to dial down my, because I lost power, I have to reset all of my settings on the mixer here. And I saw that I was redlining a lot. How does this sound? Am I buzzing? Am I distorted at all? Hopefully not. Hello there, Atsuwa Penki. Thank you for joining. My guesswork here, my educated guess is that it's going to take place in the early days of the High Republic and the final days of the Old Republic. So we will hear names like Satele and Malgus and most likely Revan, but we're going to hear them told as part of ancient history kind of thing. We're not going to be like, oh yeah, that guy Revan who lives down the road. It's going to be like 500 years ago the Sith Lord Revan did blah blah blah. Like, that's kind of what I'm expecting. And it's probably going to be High Republic characters learning about the Old Republic events. How cool would that be, actually? That would actually be very cool to see. And I feel like that would make for a really good, like, long-form TV show. More so than a movie, if they were going to go that route. Because, like, Knights and SWTOR both just have such dense stories. There's so much going on in there. You know what I mean? I always wanted to see the Great War on the screen. That was always one of my favorite parts of the Old Republic. The Great War is dope. The massive fight against Exar Kun, followed by the Mandalorian Wars. That's what you mean by the Great War, right? The Great War, when Malak and Revan both split from the Jedi Council and went off to fight against the Mandalorians. Well, that was after the Great War. The Great War is the big conflict that they all fought with together against Exar Kun. Exar Kun's one of my favorite Sith Lords. And when I played the Shadow of Revan expansion, excuse me, I was so thrilled that he got name dropped a couple times, and we get to see Massassi temples, Massassi temples. I've always wanted to know what a Massassi looked like ever since reading, I think it was Jedi Search by Kevin J. Anderson was the first one that I read that really delved into the history. And I think the Old Republic didn't disappoint. They're like these great big red hulking fishmen. I dig it. They look suitably alien and suitably, like, dark-sidey, just inherently. I would personally prefer that Old Republic stories come after finishing Phase 3 of the High Republic. You know, that makes sense. But what if they kind of like give us the beginning and the middle, and then we go back to a prequel, and then we get the ending? Kind of like the machete order of watching Star Wars for the first time, you know? Where you watch, it's 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, and then 3, right? Or shit, other way around. But yeah, either way, I think that it makes a big difference. Exar Kun was the first one holding the double-bladed lightsaber. That's right, he was, actually. He was the first one to wield that thing. Awesome. Roadman Jake, it's nice to be back. Yeah, thankfully the power was only out for like a brief amount of time. That could have gotten pretty dicey there. Just my luck, too. That, like, the one time I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go live on YouTube today. I'm gonna put stakes on this morning. Like, of course the power has to come down. You know what? You're right. It is. It's 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, and then 9. Well, 7, 8, 9. I guess that's true. I haven't really considered the machete order with the sequels in there too. But yeah, it would just be 7, 8, 9. There's not really anything else to do with them at the end there. What subject would I like to see covered in any Star Wars era and format? You know, I would really like to know more about the and it sounds like a tired answer. It sounds like it's what everybody has already seen a lot of. But I love the original trilogy, and I want to see more about the Galactic Empire's reach on other worlds and other like planetary rebellions and resistances that never really like intersected with like the Galactic Alliance of like the actual rebels TM, you know, like Mimban, for example. We see the Imperial army on Mimban in Solo, just like decimating the local forces. Those local forces were not part of the rebellion. They were simply like trying to protect their homeworld. And I want to see more of those stories of like maybe there were some that were successful out there, but instead of then reaching out and like contacting Mon Mothma, they just protected the hell out of their planet and were like, stay the hell out of here. This is our planet. Like, that'd be kind of a badass story as well. And I'm sure that there's a lot of galactic examples of that out there. I do think we'll get announcements. Because I think we're going to get content. I think we're going to get a Kenobi trailer. We're going to get a sizzle reel for Andor and Book of Boba Fett. And maybe Kenobi as well. You know what? If we get any announcements, it'll be release dates, I think. Release dates will be the only announcements that I'm expecting to get. But yeah, I'm expecting trailers and posters and maybe a sizzle reel. And, and of course also the Behind the Helmet Boba Fett documentary is also coming out this Friday. So I'm going to be reacting to that. And I'll put the full-length version up on Patreon later that day, because it's very quick to do those. Not as much editing required. And then I'll send the other version off to Nerd Chronic, and it'll be up here on YouTube. You'll be able to watch that. I don't know, probably within like a week. So, speaking of editing news, I actually do have a bunch of good content coming soon, both to this channel and to Grizzled Wizard. Grizzled Wizard is about to get Avatar: The Last Airbender reactions are about to start coming out again. If you're following on Patreon, then you already know that because you've been watching them for the last like couple weeks. I started book 2 again. I've almost finished. With the editing, Nerd Chronic is working on them, and then book 3, and it's just going to continue until we're done with that, and then probably Korra will be the next thing that I watch on there. But I'm also going to be watching Squid Game, Primal, couple other shows to be voted on, and then on Twitch, branching out from Star Wars, I'm going to be starting to play some non-Star Wars games based on the polls. So that's all very excited. And that's another reason why I wanted to kick off doing live streaming here on YouTube as Kyle Katarn, so that all of the more Star Wars centric stuff could just be live right here where it belongs. And then when I'm playing Mass Effect and Dragon Age and stuff, that can go over to Twitch on Grizzled Wizard, which makes more sense. Ricky Ritchie, hello there. How's it going? Checking in for the first time. Been a long time fan of the channel and enjoyed yours and Bendu's reactions to all the Star Wars content. Thank you so much. Thanks. Thank you for watching the fun times. I mean, that's the reason why it's able to keep going, honestly, is the support and the enthusiasm from everybody watching these videos. That's why we keep doing it. Yeah, it was definitely like a golden age when me and Bendu were able to just like meet up every week, watch the new Disney Plus show, like talk about it, hang out for a while. And now there's about 2,000 more miles of space between us, but we are planning to like meet up in the future and like react to a bunch of stuff as well as like hang out and catch up. But we're going to be doing remote reactions for Book of Boba Fett. So even though he's not, I won't even use the word gone because he's very much still active and still present, and you'll be seeing him a lot more in the future. So don't even worry about that. I'd love to see Darth Andadu. Oh, dude. Now that's a name I've not heard in a long time. That would be dope. I wonder how many people would know who that is. That's my question. Although that's a brilliant way to learn, getting to see it in live action. That would be really cool. Zach, just imagine in Mando when Luke showed up, a trooper goes, Skywalker. No one said anything about fighting Skywalker. I'm out of here. That's strong Force Unleashed energy. And Jedi Fallen Order did a good job of, like, bringing that energy, too. Where the stormtroopers just don't want to fight you. They're straight up like, how are we supposed to win against that? Like, what the hell? I'm out. Sammy Wiltshire, have you read Vader, Dark Lords of the Sith by Charles Soule and Giuseppe Camuncoli? Because that is essentially what that is. I know it's not like a live action series, which would be dope, but it is that, and it's canon, and it's that narrative. And Dark Lord of the Sith, starting in 2016, actually has some of my favorite canon artwork to date. The panels that Giuseppe does of when he's in his dark meditation, people have been calling it the Force Realm, which is a visual depiction of what it looks like. Here, you know what? Let me find it real quick. I just realized I have the power to share my screen. What the heck am I doing over here? Cool. So look at this. That's not the one, but here, yes. This panel right here is from Dark Lords of the Sith, art by Giuseppe Camuncoli, and he just kind of exists in this plane of like, it's just like negativity, you know, and evil. And his limbs, which have been cut from him, are still pure in the Force because they're not present on his body and they haven't been there for all of these acts that he's committed, you know? He lost them when he was still a Padawan. He lost the first one to Dooku when he was still like headstrong, but his heart was in the right place. And he lost these three when in the moment that he was truly lost, fighting against Obi-Wan on Mustafar. But like through the Force, those parts of him are pure, and that's why they're white. And I think that's beautiful. And you can see that there are these glimmers, these little glowing butterflies, just like flitting around in there, and that represents like the good in him, like, you know, the glimmer of hope that still is deep down in there, but like just the sea of just black, just resentment, just toxic sludge everywhere, this lightning cracking down. Like, it doesn't look like a comfortable place. It's like a very uncomfortable place to meditate and like have to try to clear your mind. I just love it because I think it's such a good articulation of the hell that is Vader's existence, you know? And if they were going to do a show like that, I think that they really would want to like play up that part of his suffering because it's a large part of his character. Yeah, I ranted and raved about it in my review because it's still to this day one of my favorite art moments for sure. Naga Sadao, Marka Ragnos. Definitely. Oh, Lord of Shadows. Definitely Marka Ragnos, man, because he was, I think you all remember, eventually foiled by Kyle Katarn. Well, it was Tavion's stupid ass that went and resurrected his scepter and then tried to resurrect him to use his power to further her own goals, not realizing that, like, this is an ancient Sith Lord. Yo, he's going to obviously just possess you and use you for his gain. Which, of course, he did. Yeah. That's the end of Jedi Academy, and it is excellent. Cool. Well, I pretty much covered all of the news that I wanted to talk about in the first stream, and then we lost the power. But I didn't want to end on that note, you know? I wanted to end it more on a note of like, okay, cool, this is what I wanted to have happen. Damn it. So, the power's still on. What do you think of the comic book? Star Wars Legacy? You're talking Cade Skywalker, all like addicted to death sticks. Hell yeah. I think it fits right in there with the Dark Horse's 90s like edgelord vibe that they had going. Like it's very extreme. And Cade, his character design reminds me of that blooper from Revenge of the Sith where George Lucas is looking at all the concept art for Anakin, and he's like, he sees the one where he's got like a mohawk and like sleeveless robes, and he's like, it's a bit much. That's how I feel about Cade Skywalker, but I do like the story. The story itself is really cool, and that vision of like what the Empire, like what the galaxy has turned into like 30 years later is really cool. Legacy is really well written. Cade just cracks me up because he's so extremely 90s Dark Horse, you know? He's up there with like the Infinite, like the Star Wars Night Stalker comic. Stuff like that. Seeing Darth Krayt in live action would be cool. You know, like Lord of Shadows, you're basically, and I do agree with you, you're basically just saying we should have a live action, like a Disney Plus show that's just called Sith Lords. And every episode we get like a deep dive, like a live action, like little origin story for every single Sith Lord. And it could span all the different timelines. There's an episode for Exar Kun, an episode for Marka Ragnos, Naga Sadow. You know, Revan gets an episode. Hell, give it to some of the minor lords as well, like Darth Mar, Darth Barriss, you know, some of these dudes. Sidious, Plagueis, all these people that, like, there's all this awesome information about, but casual fans of Star Wars don't really know anything about them. I think that would be a great way to change that. And also, it would be really dope, just very gratifying to see all that stuff happen in live action. Because Disney, man, that budget is something else. And the volume, like, it's a very exciting time to be a Star Wars fan. It's a very exciting time to be a grown-ass man that loves watching Star Wars. Unapologetically. I love it. And I don't care. I don't care how childish that may be, you know? I think Star Wars, although the new generation, you know, these new movies are for the next generation, it doesn't mean that it's not accessible to absolutely everybody. Dan Flakes, I think we're going to get one on Friday. This Friday, November 12th, is Disney Plus Day, and it is heavily anticipated that we'll be getting at least a trailer for Kenobi, a sizzle reel featuring footage from Andor and Book of Boba Fett, as well as perhaps some release dates and some posters. So, we'll see. Harris, thank you for the kind words. I'm glad you're able to catch the stream. I think they're going to set up Darth Krayt as Asherat Het in Kenobi, and then the next trilogy, he's the main villain. Oh, that would be dope. That would be dope. Yes, because the pre-Krayt part of his story, when he is Asherat Het, is actually like equally badass in my opinion. So if they started there, that would be really, really cool. All right, I have to keep my eyes out when I'm watching Kenobi for that, because that would be amazing. Ricky Ritchie, same. I am currently in Knights of the Fallen Empire. I'm about 8 chapters in, and I was rather confused at first. I was like, is Valkorion actually Vitiate? How does that work? Because Valkorion's been out here being an emperor of Zakul for a long time, and Vitiate only died like a couple of years ago? Died at the hands of my Jedi Knight. So like, didn't anyone notice when Valkorion suddenly started acting different, like in the moment that, because presumably there's a moment where he dies and then the spirit transfers into Valkorion. It's not like Valkorion was born to that. He's an old ass man when you meet him, you know, and he's had like kids, he's raised kids, he's had a relationship with Senya, like he's had a whole life. So it can't. So I was just very confused about, like, did he just like one day Valkorion was a little different because now he's Vitiate inside. No one noticed that, really. I mean, I guess he's the emperor. You don't question your emperor. But yeah, I've been giving that a lot of thought. The whole Tenebrae, Vitiate, Valkorion mess. And it's supposed to be a mess. You're supposed to be a little confused by it because Sith alchemy is strange and confusing and mysterious. That's kind of like what it's supposed to be like. So, do I think in the Acolyte we'll see a new Sith Lord or a known one? I think we will mostly see a new one, but we're going to hear all about known ones. That's kind of how, like, they're going to want to introduce a new character that they can have complete artistic license over and can decide what they do without having to be stepping on the toes of anything already laid out in canon. But in order to anchor them and make them authentic and believable, we're going to give them a connection to, say, Barriss or Darth Mar or, like, Naga Sadow or something. Like, There's going to be some level of interaction with this brand new character and things that are established to make us feel like, okay, this person is believable. They are part of this universe. So that's what I think. But mostly new stuff. Mostly new stuff. As a huge High Republic fan, the news of a potential movie is just everything. I really hope the HR writers are involved, though. Oh, absolutely. They've been having so many little like planning sessions, and you know that they've been having like secret writing sessions. It's entirely possible that they could have developed a script in that time while working on Phase 2 or Phase 3. You know, like they easily, or at the very least, like they could have like had a script sent to them that was written elsewhere, and they were like, okay, let's make a couple changes to make sure that it conforms to everything narratively. Boom, there's your High Republic movie script. Like, there's so many writers involved in it that, like, with that amount of manpower, they could probably do that like fairly efficiently and fairly quietly without anyone, because they don't have to bring outside help in for all these different aspects. They have this awesome story group where all of the skill sets required to create such a product are represented at that table. So there are no like contractors or script doctors or random people brought in that can then leave with loose lips and like let slip that there's a project being made. No, it's like this little insulated group of really talented people that are able to just churn out this content, and it's all cohesive. They're actually able to communicate with each other so that everything is cross-referenced in all these different media. Yeah, the publishing initiative set forth by the High Republic is really impressive, and I think that that aspect of the High Republic isn't getting talked about enough. These people are working their asses off, and they're delivering every single time. In that article that Jordan Mason wrote for Cinelinx, it talked about how they've hit the bestsellers list with every single release. That's true. That's really impressive. Zach said, I do like Knights of the Fallen Empire so far. I'm on chapter 8 or 9. Haven't finished it yet. It got some pretty good reactions out of me. I'll put it that way. I'm really excited to start Eternal Throne, and then Onslaught, I think, is after that. Maybe there's one in between. I just know that there's a lot left. Henry Lewis, you didn't miss much. I was talking about the Old Republic film project that might be happening, about Patty Jenkins' Rogue Squadron movie being delayed to 2024 because of the big shakeup involving Rangers of the New Republic and everything like that. And then the power went out. And then I heard people with chainsaws down the road, and then the power came back on. It's been a roller coaster over here, actually. Do you think the success of the High Republic meant the movie was fast-tracked in development? I don't know. I think that the success of the High Republic meant that the Acolyte was firmly cemented as one of the upcoming Disney Plus shows. I think for sure. They were like, oh, wow. Light of the Jedi by Charles Soule is selling really well. We've got all these other books coming. Let's go ahead and greenlight Leslie Headland's The Acolyte and make it a High Republic-centric, like, era-wise. As for the movie, could also be the case. I think the movie has to do, like, if it does, I think the movie is like a concerted effort to take the crowd that's really into the Old Republic and get them into the High Republic. I think that's kind of from like a marketing standpoint, I think that's what the aim is from Lucasfilm here. They're like, there's this whole big fan base that loves KOTOR, loves Revan, loves SWTOR. It's insulated because this timeline isn't really referenced outside of this aspect of Star Wars. Every once in a while, like Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau have been adding little nuggets all over Mandalorian, like the Krayt Dragon in the Marshal, the HKs in the Ahsoka episode, like all of these little things. Which, by the way, HK 87... Really? 3,000 years ago, they came out with the HK-40s. Like, 300 years after that, they came out with the HK-50s. And you're telling me that thousands of years later, we're only at the HK-80s. There was a really long Union strike that lasted about 3,000 years at the HK factory. And they were like, you know what? Fuck it. Strike's over. Let's keep going. Let's make the 87. I haven't seen Russian Doll on Netflix. It's on my watch list as well, mostly for that Leslie Headland's research, you know. Yeah, same reason I watched Girls because Adam Driver, to learn who he was, you know, back before 7 came out. If they ever do a Darth Bane TV series, I really hope they bring back Darth Xana and Darth Cognis as well. They should bring back literally everybody. Like, there are so many awesome, epic, named Sith Lords to choose from that they really don't have to limit themselves with people that we've heard of before, or that by, like, what the casuals will have already been like, oh yeah, I know that guy, let's watch this. No, learn about something new, you know? Like, I don't know who could tell you about Darth Cognus versus, like, you know, Darth Revan, Darth Vitiate. These are slightly bigger names. Exar Kun, stuff like that. Am I going to do the Trooper story? I will do the Trooper story, and I will do the Agent story, Smuggler and Consular after the expansions. And I know that there are a couple things that come up in those class stories that are going to be spoiled in the expansions. The way I'm going to view it is that anything that gets referenced, I'm seeing it for the first time in Knights of the Fallen Empire and Eternal Throne. And then when I play those class stories, they'll be like prequels to me, you know? That's the way I'm viewing it. And the ultimate goal is to get all caught up by the time 7.0 comes out. Maybe the playthroughs won't have finished airing, because that's going to take a while. But as long as I've played it all, I can be playing the new stuff live on launch day. That's what I really want to be able to do. So that's the plan. I've asked this a lot, but if they did a Tara Vizsla movie, who do you think should play Tara? That's a really good one. That's a head scratcher. Lord of Shadows, Alan Rickman would be an amazing Plagueis. I do agree. I'm not sure who I would cast for that. Harsh, thank you. I do. Yeah, I love doing the comics every Wednesday. I'm gonna start trying to do comics with Katarn here on YouTube instead of on Twitch, if it works out smoothly. Just because I always end up streaming it on Twitch and then I archive it onto YouTube anyhow. Why not just cut out the middleman there? So, this might be the new place to catch comics with Katarn. There'll be more information on that once I iron out the details. Barriss Offee is the new Joris C'baoth. You know, my friend Joe has a pretty solid theory. I don't know if it's going to pan out, but I want it to, where Ezra is the new Joris C'baoth. And that Thrawn and Ezra disappeared off into the unknown regions at the end of Rebels, right? And Thrawn is, like, corrupting Ezra just ideologically and philosophically using just conversations. They're just having conversations, and slowly he's convincing Ezra of, to service his needs. And then they're going to return from the unknown regions, and he's going to be like this crazy bearded wizard man who's all like hellbent. It's going to be the new Joris C'baoth. It'll be awesome. Marta Angelo, you are correct. Lars Mikkelsen has been confirmed in a leak. But that's totally fine by me, because Lars Mikkelsen has been Thrawn for a while now, as far as I'm concerned. They even modeled the animated Thrawn face to look like Lars. The Aladdin, Mena Massoud, I think his name is. And yeah, that's the irony. The irony there is hilarious. I think that they're gonna do a great job. I can't wait to see it. It's gonna be weird having it all be live action, and I really hope that we do get an animated Rebel sequel in the future. There is an animated, a rumored animated project being developed right now, but it's a Darth Maul piece, and it's going to be about more like Crimson Dawn and Maul and Dryden Voss and that kind of stuff. So hopefully we also do get a continuation in animation, because as excited as I am to be getting live action Star Wars stuff all the time, like, that is a childhood dream come true. You don't even know. I don't want my hype for live action to give you the impression that I think that animation is in any way less valid of a storytelling medium. And, like, Star Wars Rebels is just as important as The Mandalorian. You know what I mean? Animation needs to continue to be important and relevant. And so I hope we get more of this awesome Star Wars content, but I hope that we get more animated content as well, on the same level as The Bad Batch, Rebels, Season 7 of the Clone Wars, you know? Like, these were great things. And I don't know. I want to make sure that no one thinks that I consider live action Star Wars to be in any way superior to animation. I think that they're simply different from each other, but equally valid, you know? Live action Jason Syndulla is going to be interesting. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if it became one of those situations where, like season 1, the first time we see Ross's ex, that gets pregnant and marries Carol. They recast the actress like at the very next episode. Like Caleb, like Jason Syndulla, we see him at the end of Rebels. The next time we see him, he's going to look drastically different because they're going to completely redesign his character. I would not be surprised. What kind of animation do I prefer? You know, I really like stuff that's a little bit off the wall. I thought that some of the Star Wars Visions shorts had really like interesting takes, and I liked visually what they were doing. I think that we hit the perfect animation like marriage between like realism and stylism with the Bad Batch. Bad Batch looked the best. In terms of story, I don't think it was better than like Clone Wars Season 7 or the finale of Rebels. Like Twilight of the Apprentice, some of the best goddamn Star Wars storytelling we've ever had, and that was Season 2 of Rebels. But I think the Bad Batch visually is just the cream of the crop. It looked the best. The human faces were like the perfect blend of Clone Wars and Rebels put together. Like, they still had hard features, but they were a little softened. They were a little rounded, more like Rebels. Like the vistas, the landscapes, fucking forget about it, man. They were like Camino with the rolling storm clouds. Mount Tantus at the end. Speaking of Joris Kaboeth, we saw goddamn Mount Tantus. How have I not talked about that more? But that lends credence to Joe's theory that, you know, maybe Ezra's chilling over there someday after they return from the unknown regions. Evac 12, a show that uses CG and 2D animation, I would say, like, Resistance was the closest. It was, like, all, like, cel-shaded animation. And Resistance, like, I didn't like the look of people. I didn't really like the design. I thought the ships looked badass, and it was clearly an animation style that was developed for the racing sequences and for the cool ships and things like that. And the people, they just sort of had to, like, sort of fit them into this peg that they had created, which is too bad. I think that might have been one of the reasons it wasn't as successful. But I thought the ships looked great in Resistance because of that cel shading. Kate Blanchett as Shoshan. That could work. Shoshan's basically just like a dark Galadriel, so that could totally work. Just wondering, are you excited for Bad Batch Season 2 next year? Also, I love your channel. I've been checking out your Old Republic playthrough. Loved it. Thank you so much. I'm having a great time playing Old Republic. I've almost finished the first of the expansions, actually. I am excited for Bad Batch Season 2. I feel like we spent a whole season establishing these characters and figuring out who they are, and now we know very well who they are as people, and we can jump right into the action, right into the plot. And I think we're going to learn some very surprising things, setting up, like, the Snoke theories and, like, the cloning. I really need to know more about Mount Tantus. I need to know how much of Heir to the Empire by Timothy Zahn is actually getting included in this, you know? The droids in Resistance look cool, and the planets and ships too. Yeah, that's pretty much what I'm saying. I know you're not saying exactly cel-shaded. I can't think of an example of what you mean either, but I think I do get what you're saying. Do you think Omega could appear in the Book of Boba Fett? I freaking hope so. I want Omega in there. I want Fennec Shand in there. I don't really know if she's in there, but I want Amelia Clark to show up as Kira. All of the Crimson Dawn War the Bounty Hunters players that didn't die should show up. I'm talking my man Dirge from the Tartakovsky Clone Wars cartoon. Dirge was made canon again. I don't know if you guys know this. In one of the Dr. Aphra issues that was a tie-in to the War the Bounty Hunters crossover. Dirge is on the hunt, trying to steal Frozen Solo, back from Crimson Dawn like anyone else, runs afoul of Aphra and Santa Staros, and gets freaking airlocked in one issue. Like, he's out. Can't do my man Dirge dirty like that. So hopefully Dirge shows back up somewhere, and Book of Boba Fett would be a perfect place to put him. Also, Black Chrysanthemum from Dr. Aphra, rumored to make an appearance in there. I want to see Bosk with his little baby legs. I want to see Bylert Valance. My fan cast for him would be like either Christian Bale or what's his name? Guy who played The Witcher. Henry Cavill would be a great Valance, I think. Marta Angelo, what do you think about Rosamund Pike as Satine? She's my headcanon for Avar Kriss, but I think that she'd make a killer Satine as well. Or, you know, like, and I'm not the first one to say this, but Nicole Kidman as Satine to go with Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan, just like she was Satine in Moulin Rouge, in love with Ewan McGregor. So like they already have that pairing where the chemistry has been proven, you know. Live action Dirge could totally be nightmare fuel, especially if they do the thing that he did in Tartakovsky where he could like knit the sinews of his arms back together. Like, ugh, creepy. I recently just bought my first physical comics ever, Trail of Shadows 1 and Star Wars 18, because both Kira and Leia were on the cover and it looked amazing. Star Wars 18 is nuts. Star Wars 18, we finally get that like heavy conversation between Kira and Leia that we've been like half anticipating, half dreading the whole time. Yeah, no. Kira did not come off with the moral high ground, but she definitely came off sounding like a boss. Someone who was in charge. I didn't hear that the Village Bride was submitted for an Oscar consideration. I think it deserves it. The Village Bride was definitely one of the most creative, and I think like somehow just like subtly moving interpretations of the Force. I really liked it, so I'm happy to hear that. A good calm moment between Omega and Boba Fett to have them relate on certain things. Well, we've never even seen them meet, period. The Alpha and the Omega, as far as we know, have never interacted. So unless they interact in Bad Batch Season 2, which they might, first thing that would have to happen in that scene is some convincing. I don't think Boba is just going to take this chick's word for it. Omega would probably take Boba's word for it because he's somewhat famous, but like Omega was kind of a secret, you know? So she'd have to really convince him that she is in fact part of him. I guess DNA, chain code, right? She could do that fairly easily. Do I think that Temuera Morrison could play every clone? I don't think it matters what I think. He's done it. He's out there. His face was on all of them. He's the oddball, Cody. Every time we see a clone live action, it's been Tem's face. Well, except for the guys in the lunchroom, and except for young Daniel Logan. But even then, yeah, he's got it made now. He's not only got that Boba money, he's about to have that Cody money from Kenobi. You know, he's gonna have the Rex money from Ahsoka. The man's got everything. Do you think we could still see a canon version of Darth Caedus? I mean, honestly, and you're not gonna like this. The canon version of Darth Caedus was Kylo Ren. Like that's as close as you can get. A Force-sensitive son of Han Solo who becomes a Sith Lord. Like Kylo is the Ben to Kylo arc is like the closest that we could possibly get to that in new canon. Yeah, I think he is our canon Darth Caedus. Boba Fett versus Omega, who would win? Boba Fett. Screen Rant did an article fan casting the Bad Batch with white actors, and it was not it. Yeah, no. You know who should play the Bad Batch? Temuera, and Jake the Muss. And I think that if they're going to have an adult Omega in live action, Keisha Castle Hughes would be perfect. My mom actually taught her in school back in New Zealand. And the thing is, Keisha Castle Hughes has already been in Star Wars. She played the young queen at Padme's funeral. But I think that she would do a good job as an adult. You could recast her as an adult. We'll just forget about the whole Sand Snakes thing from Game of Thrones. We'll pretend that didn't happen. Darth Talon back in canon would be dope. I feel like Darth Talon... I know that Darth Talon is not the Red Twi'lek from the Fallen Empire cinematic trailer. But she hella looks like her, you know? Is it racist to say that just because she's a Red Twi'lek? I don't know. She didn't have the right tattoos, so I don't think it was her. Cool. Well, I think I'm going to wrap up the stream pretty soon here. But I want to let you guys know. So this was my first YouTube live stream. It's been a bit of a roller coaster. Lost power halfway through that thing. But this was also kind of a trial run for this coming Friday, because it's Disney Plus Day, and we're getting a ton of new content. A slew of new things are coming out, and I want to be reacting to those trailers, talking about that information and those release dates and doing a deep dive and hanging out with you guys. I want to know what you guys think, so please join me right here on YouTube. Gonna be going live for the Disney Plus day as early as possible, probably like 7, maybe 8 PST in the morning. I had a lot of fun doing this. You guys are all part of Kyle Katarn history now. You were all here for this ridiculous stream that just happened. Oh man, yeah, I can't wait either. It's gonna be a good time. So anyway, thank you everybody for joining me. I hope you had a good time in the stream. I definitely had a good one. And as always, may the Force be with you.